Before teleporting in, Polly is already flying up. He's getting pretty good at it. When we do pop in, he is still going up, and our plan is a go. Polly flies the direction we came from. Jesse runs around the corner of a building, hiding himself from the view of the zombies. Hannah, Elliot, and Julian yell and throw rocks at the zombies, trying to get them to follow them, going the same way Polly did. I take several steps toward the horde of zombies moving toward me. I cast chain lightning on the closest one. As the energy courses through me, the light obscures my vision. My skin gets goosebumps. The popping and static of the electricity drains out all other sounds, and I think I may be yelling. I channel the spell until my energy is depleted. The ground between me and the first skeleton is charred, and there is smoke rising. It has collapsed into a pile of bones, and the lightning is still bouncing between the skeletons, going deep into the crowd of them and back out again. They are falling left and right. By the time the electricity fizzles to nothing, at least 50 skeletons have fallen, and my chat log is spammed with experience gains. The other half are fast approaching, and I fall back to Hannah and the others. Hannah moves toward the horde, which is following us now. The first ranks of them are only 20 feet away, which feels really close when it's zombies. I once again feel relief for them not being of the fast-moving variety. Hannah starts blasting fireballs at the zombies. I feel a concussion from the fireballs that I didn't notice in the rest area. Each fireball explodes a zombie and catches a few around her target on fire. The odor of burning flesh fills the air, which gets humid from the boiling blood. She runs out of energy after 5 fireballs and rejoins us. The zombies seem unbothered by their comrades burning and dying. They keep a steady march. They don't seem too dangerous, but I know if we got stuck in an alley or they came up on us while we were sleeping and we were unprepared, we would be screwed. Plus, these won't get tired. They will never stop pursuing until they are physically unable to. The burning ones seem to be at the point of being unable to run now. They fall to the ground and continue to burn. That must be from the magic. I don't think a decaying corpse would normally burn like that. They have all passed Jesse now, and he steps out to follow them. But Elliot puts his hands up and motions him back. Then Polly, back on the ground, joins us.
What's next?
We're taking them to the next intersection, then going in a circle until we get them all in a tight group. After that, we're leading them back the way we came. This is easier said than done. It takes us several circles to get them bunched together before we can head back up the street. They trip over themselves and end up in a staggered single file line. The one in the lead gets to a smoldering corpse and throws it hard at us. We see it coming and duck before it goes over our heads. It's almost shocking how strong these things are. Jesse steps out in front of us and charges with his shield. It's like a train plowing through them. They don't explode, but you hear bones crunch, and zombies fall to the side as he hits them. He makes it all the way down the line and finishes most of them off. But his charge goes in a straight line, and despite our efforts, they were not lined up perfectly. There is only a handful left, though, and they should be easy enough to wrap up.
Time to gain a little skill,
Jesse says, and switches to his sword. The remaining zombies are between us and Jesse. Their attention is on him now. One is just a couple feet closer to him than the others, and he steps forward and chops its head off with the long sword. I want to use my bow, but I don't feel confident enough with it yet. I might shoot someone I don't mean to. I pull out the quarterstaff instead. An ice spike comes out of the ground and goes up in between the legs of one of the zombies. It doesn't kill it, but freezes it in place, and it must have done some serious damage. From behind and to my left, 6 tiny fireballs, a little bit smaller than a tennis ball, rocket past me in a circular formation and smack into the frozen zombie, killing it. I notice these fireballs don't catch it on fire. I look over my shoulder and see it's Polly with his wand. I forgot he had that thing. Not bad. Does that take energy to use?
Nope, I can cast it all day. It's just kind of slow.
Which I notice now. The end of it is starting to glow. It must need to charge up. There's 5 zombies left. I move ahead of Elliot, then Julian, who I note has a spiked mace in his hand, and I sweep the legs out from under a zombie, then try to send the tip of my staff into its eye socket. I miss and get its forehead instead. It snarls and reaches for me, but I'm a little too far. I can see out of my peripheral that there is another zombie coming up on me from the right. I sidestep to the left as Julian moves to attack it. Hannah sticks another with an ice spike, and I get my staff through the eye socket this time. Then, starting low, Julian swings his mace up, breaking the jawbone and nose off another zombie. It's gruesome, but it doesn't kill it. The zombie grabs Julian by the arm that he swung the mace with and crushes his bones with its grip. Julian screams and falls to his knees. The zombie uses its free hand to grab Julian's arm again, higher up this time, and crushes that section too. The zombie shifts its weight, getting in position to throw Julian. It will either rip his arm off or throw him far enough and hard enough that he will die. I throw my quarterstaff like a spear at the zombie's head and miss. Simultaneously, Elliot lashes the zombie's neck with his whip, but it fails to wrap around or do significant enough damage to kill it. I pull my bow out of inventory, but before I can draw the string, I see Polly flick his wand and the glow lifts from it, forming into the 6 tiny fireballs which slam into the zombie's face, finally killing it. Jesse slices through one and Elliot removes the neck of another with his whip. Jesse puts his sword away and picks Julian up, who screams. He's still in combat, so he hasn't started to heal yet. He could cast a heal spell, but I guess that's a little difficult when you're in so much pain. There's 1 zombie left, and Polly's wand is charging up for another cast. And I tell him, wait. Let me try my bow. The rest of us back up to about 10 feet away. I knock an arrow and pull it back. It's a lot easier this time. I aim and release, hitting the zombie in the chest. It rips the arrow out. I knock another arrow and aim. It throws the arrow with superhuman strength. I'm expecting this and ready to duck. Except it doesn't throw the arrow at me. Hannah's elemental waves an arm trying to protect her, but it doesn't stand a chance. The arrow is going way too fast and pierces its way into her chest. Her health plummets to near 0.
No, no!
I release the next arrow, which goes straight through the open mouth of the zombie and out the back of its head, skipping along the stones of the street before stopping. Hannah is on the ground, unconscious. Jesse is already there, checking the pulse on her neck. Julian has gotten control of himself, and I see warm light illuminate around one of his hands and drift through the air over Hannah. Her health rises slightly.
I'm going to cast that one more time. I need you to pull the arrow out right before the spell lands.
I want to help her. I want to be the one to pull the arrow out. This is my fault. But I know he's talking to Jesse, and there's no point in me getting in the way. Jesse pulls the arrow out at the exact right time and her health dips back down, but immediately goes up when the spell goes over.
The arrowhead didn't come out,
Polly says, pointing at the shaft in Jesse's hands. I run to where the zombie lays and rip into its chest. Blood flies and I hold my breath without meaning to, though I am conscious to get my mouth closed even in my panic. I see it. I pull the arrowhead out. It's stuck but rips free. It's here. It just didn't come out with the arrow. I tell them. Julian lands a 3rd heal spell on her, and she starts to stir. I notice Julian hasn't healed himself yet, but he is beginning to regenerate. When Hannah opens her eyes, she doesn't look scared. I wonder if she realizes how close she was to dying. Jesse pulls her body close to his chest.
Hannah, I thought for a second that we lost you.
She smiles and looks like she just woke up from a long nap. Jesse's face goes grim. He looks to Julian.
That arrow was in the zombie. Is it going to infect her?
Yes, but as Elliot has said, I can fix that. It's a disease, and I can cure disease. This is from a low-level zombie. It will be no problem.
This time, he heals himself. Hank walks over to Hannah and gets down on his knees, face to the ground, bowing to her. She puts a hand on his head.
It's okay, buddy. That wasn't your fault.
It was my fault, and I'm sorry, Hannah. If I hadn't wanted to use my bow, you would be fine.
Shush. I get the sympathy right now, not you. It isn't your fault anyway. It's the zombie's fault. It could have thrown anyone's weapon at me.
It only had access to my weapon.
Stop stealing the dead zombie's glory.
Hey, Jesse, why isn't your sword on fire like when the Dragon Rider was using it?
When did this guy get so observant? Hannah gives Jesse a peck on his cheek, then starts to get up.
Do you remember Elliot saying this is one of the best swords he's ever seen? Well, I need to be level 30 to use its ability, and when I can, you'll see what's up.
You seem to be well on your way.
Julian says as he completes a heal on himself. I see everyone's eyes dart around at seemingly nothing as we check our character sheets. Sure enough, level 22.
Why not just tell us what it does?
Jesse shrugs.
Because I want to see what a surprised big bird sounds like.
One of the zombies we killed jumps to its feet with quickness and precision I have not witnessed from them before now. It runs in a tight circle before falling flat on its face. As if triggered by this, another dead one raises its hand and slaps it against the ground.
Yeah, they'll do that.
Elliot says before anyone asks.
Hannah's health is going down again.
Yes, she is infected. I'll cure her when I get to full energy.
Julian sits down a little ways from the zombies and closes his eyes. Is he okay? I ask.
He does this sometimes. He's meditating to build his energy back up faster. I guess some of these zombies aren't dead.
Apparently, the fungi that makes them zombies can still control the body for a short while if the brain isn't completely destroyed.
They're dead but not broken.
Hannah adds as her health continues to plummet. Jesse puts his hands on her shoulders and concentrates. Healing light touches her and the health bar bumps up slightly.
That's the best I can do.
Jesse must have been practicing that. We all should. A zombie gets up and starts to run. It's heading straight for a wall, but I aim down on it with my bow anyway. I can feel I'm off the second I release the arrow. It flies past the zombie and clinks on the floor. Polly knocks the zombie down again with his wand. Another zombie starts to get up, and Hannah sticks an ice spike through it.
Should I start blasting the ones on the ground with fireballs?
No, they'll still get up and run around, but they'll be on fire while they do it. It's best to just move away, or do what we're doing, and knock them down as they get up. Do you have a Stramato effect going? We want to keep your hit points as stable as we can until Julianne is ready.
I don't think I can eat right now.
I'm ready. Hannah, this is going to hurt. Do you want someone to hold you down?
She nods. I respect how matter-of-fact they both are. Sounds like a job for Jesse. Hannah sits up on the ground, and Jesse sits behind her, bear-hugging her so she can't flail her arms.
Watch that she doesn't accidentally hit her head against yours.
Julian says before placing his hands on the wound and closing his eyes. Red light pulses from him to the wound, and Hannah screams. The light keeps pulsing as she struggles to break free from Jesse's hold. She tries to stand, but Jesse is holding her in place. She begins to twist and get away. In our chat, Elliot writes,
If Julian stops, she will have to go through this again.
I grab Hannah's legs and hold them to the ground, afraid she will hurt herself. After a few seconds, the light stops pulsing and Julian steps back. She is sobbing now and I let go. After a second, she turns around and embraces Jesse.
Oh, Hannah.
He says. I look at Elliot and ask him, if they control every aspect of this place, why do they have to make that hurt so bad? He shrugs and shakes his head. I walk over and pick up my arrow with the intention of placing it back in my inventory, but instead, I hit it against the ground, breaking it, and I throw the shaft toward the largest pile of dead zombies. It doesn't matter if she doesn't blame me. My incompetence led to that pain. I will not let that happen again. I noticed the water then, pouring out of the window that we came through hundreds of feet up. It's too far away to hear the rush of water, but it's got to be roaring. It's a lot. Hey, I'll need to check this out, I say, pointing up to it. Julian just sighs.
Where is all of that coming from?
It could be an NPC that's really pissed off about the fire. It could be because someone triggered a trap. It could be a lot of things. One thing I can say for sure is that it's a problem. We're going to have to get a move on.
Sure, but what is the plan? We have no idea where to go, unless you Pathfinders know something the rest of us don't.
The gem was placed in Elliot's inventory, and so far it hasn't told him anything close to a real hint. It shows a picture, but the picture is nothing but darkness. Not so much as a hint of a shape, just black.
I haven't a clue.
Nope, but if we keep moving, we'll make progress on the quest. We have the freedom to go where we want and do what we want, but they nudge us in the right direction. Like with this water. You think their doing this was to hurt us somewhere? No, this water is the result of someone or some thing's actions, but the admins might find a way to affect our story with it as well. If it wasn't for this water, I guarantee something else would have happened.
It doesn't seem like the water is really showing us where to go, though.
No, but it might be enough just to get us moving. We'll likely move away from the water. That's a nudge, right? Or maybe its purpose won't be completely obvious until this whole area is full of water. Right. That's enough of a hint for me. We came in on the west side. Let's head to the east side.
Works for me. Hannah is on her feet and moving. It doesn't relieve any of the guilt that I feel, but I'm glad to see it. We move through the streets, not exactly aimlessly, but we probably don't look entirely sure of our purpose. We're going down a new street when Polly says,
We should check out one of these buildings that are boarded up.
To my surprise, Jesse says,
I was thinking the same thing.
Personally, I don't feel it's a great idea, but I figure it's Julian's job to talk us out of doing stupid shit, so I don't try to stop them. We find a taller building, 20 stories high, made of what looks like cement, just a little more rocky than I would expect to see in a building back home. It has no windows on the bottom floor, but a big double-door entrance. The wood blocking the doors looks like old barn wood, but it's strong. We try pulling it off, but it won't budge. So we switch to trying to break it inward. Our weapons are not great for this, but when we back up and Hannah blasts it with a fireball, we get right in. Walking in, we are immediately greeted by a reception area with a large desk. Beyond that are stairs leading up. To the either side of the front doors are comfortable-looking chairs and tables, presumably for people waiting to be led up the stairs, or perhaps for a carriage to come pick them up. A fun fact about this place is that there are zombies exactly where you would expect people to be. 2 sitting behind the desk. 1 is moving, its mouth like it's talking to us, though it is staring forward blankly. 1, wearing armor by the stairs, is clearly a security guard, or it used to be. To our left are some zombies that look like they are reading, and to our right is 3 zombies that appear to be conversating. They too are opening and closing their mouths, but their eyes are unfocused and looking at no one in particular.
What the hell?
We all start to back out. One of the zombies behind the desk laughs loudly and robotically, still not focused on anything, then suddenly flips the desk, rocketing it toward us. Jess reacts equally as fast, shield materializing as he steps into the flying desk. The desk crushes and splinters, but largely stays whole. Jesse charges forward, pushing the desk as he moves and crushes the receptionists against the back wall. The security guard gets his legs pinned or perhaps crushed as well by the desk. Polly and Hannah blast the three that were having a conversation to our right. Elliot and myself dispatch the reading zombies. Jesse slices the head of the security guard in half and jumps over the desk, switching back to his shield as he rounds the corner. As he does, a zombie falls into his shield. It was definitely tumbling down from the floor above. Before he got there, he backs down a couple steps to stay out of biting range when another zombie clunks into him.
Better come back this way. No point in getting overwhelmed on the stairs again.
Elliot says, and Jesse hops back over the desk while the zombies try to figure out how to stand. Another falls down the stairs.
They're just going to throw the desk at us again. We need to get outside.
Jesse tells us, and he's right. We all back up toward the door, ready to dodge any thrown objects. I'm the first to get back out of the doorway, and I feel something cold go all the way through my side, just below my ribs. Then something warm and wet dribbles down me. What? I say for some reason and put my hand to my side. There's an arrow sticking out of me. I start to turn to look outside the building to see who shot me, and suddenly Jesse is in front of me. He picks me up by my shoulders and throws me back inside, toward the corner of the room where the zombies had been talking a moment before. I feel so confused. A brick wall suddenly forms in front of the door leading out as the first zombie stumbles over the desk from the stairs. I vaguely hear,
This is going to hurt.
before the arrow is shoved out through the front of my stomach. The pain is white-hot and blinding. My eyes remain open, but I'm not seeing, or at least not comprehending. I realize I'm looking up at the ceiling and I look down to the person in front of me. It's Julian. There's light coming from him to me, and suddenly the pain is gone and I'm back in the moment.
Are you okay, lad?
He asks. I look back at the desk. Jesse is on top of it, slashing at the next zombie as it approaches. There are 2 smoking zombies on our side of the desk. That must have been Hannah and Polly's handiwork. I missed that. Who shot me? I ask, feeling stupid.
We don't know. I was hoping you saw who it was. But whomever it was, they locked us in here.
There's more boarded up windows upstairs. We can get out through one of them, I say, feeling focused now.
Might be easier said than done.
Jesse says, the zombies are still coming down the stairs. Jesse and the others are holding them off, but it's going to be difficult to gain any ground. We will just have to push forward. 3 people in front, like you are now. 2 in the back resting. Julian healing us when possible. Every time we kill a zombie, we take at least 1 step forward. No one verbally agrees, but Jesse slashes down a zombie and takes a step forward off the desk and onto the stairs.
I'm out of energy.
Hannah announces. I put my hand on her shoulder. She steps away and I get back into the fight. I use my quarterstaff like a spear, as I always do in tight situations like this. Polly and Elliot switch next. It's a grueling fight up the stairs. Every time we bring down one zombie, another is ready to take its place. Sometimes zombies farther up the stairs try to throw something at us. Often a body part of another zombie, but they do more damage to each other than us. Probably the biggest problem is the zombies we've already taken down, grabbing and biting at our shoes in their death throes as we walk over them. The smell of the gore from the rotting zombies and the stress of whatever is waiting for us outside is sickening. Feels unbearable for a second, and then I push that feeling out. I have to take care of this now and can worry about how it makes me feel later. The room upstairs isn't as crowded as I feared it might be. Straight ahead is the boarded-up windows leading to outside. The stairs are along the left wall, and to our right is a round table and chairs. The zombies predictably fell down the stairs and are having trouble getting back up. A couple are standing in the back and 3 more are crawling towards these stairs. I see Polly's wand glow and tell him, "Do not bust out that window until we are ready to jump." We don't want them to know we're going to exit there if we can help it. He blasts one of the standing zombies with it. It doesn't die. I hit it with a chain lightning and it does die. The lightning bounces to the other zombies, then up the next set of stairs. These zombies get a health bar, which shows they are mostly dead. It takes just one more hit from the others to finish them off.
I'm concerned about this plan. Isn't jumping out of a second-story window, like, really bad for you?
It's not like being at home, Polly. We become a lot more durable. From downstairs, I hear,
They went upstairs. Hurry.
Son of a bitch. Dip your weapons in zombie goo.
Elliot tells us. I want to step lightly, but we only have a couple of seconds. I take a handful of arrows out of my inventory and rub the heads around inside the mouth of a zombie. We all do this with our weapons. Even Elliot runs his whip through the mouth of a dead one like it's a piece of too large floss. It seems like they should be up here by now, but we have time to back to the side of the room with the table. I pull my bowstring back and aim it at the stairs, ready to shoot whatever head comes up them first. 2 more seconds go by, and I can tell this is taking too long. There's a concussion, and I fly up in the air, along with everyone and everything else, including the floor we were standing on. We don't hit the ceiling, but we fall to the ground floor. All of our health bars take a serious hit, but I'm conscious. The dust is thick in the air, making me cough, and it's hard to see, but a figure steps into the doorway with a bow and arrow. They are seeking a target. Thank goodness for the dust. Polly coughs now, and I see the bow, backlit from the light outside, turn toward the sound of him. I lost my arrows in the explosion, so I grab a chunk of cement out of the rubble and chuck it as hard as I can at the bowmen. It causes their aim to go off, and they hesitate for a second before they swing the bow around to me. Elliot's whip slashes them across the face, and it makes a crack sound like it did when we were fighting those rats. I see paralyzed. Fly up above the attacker's head, and they collapse. A zombie falls from above us and lands next to Julian. I look up as another one falls off the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. I see its leg break when it lands, and Julian smashes both of their heads with quick swings of his spiked mace. A glass bottle is thrown into the room that oozes an oil-like substance across the ground. There is a lot of it, and I get on top of the table to stay out of it. The others hug the walls. A fireball shoots in and ignites the oil, immediately increasing the temperature inside by what feels like 100 degrees. The oil creates a lot of smoke, and my eyes water. It's difficult to breathe.
Come on.
Jesse says. He has his tower shield out and walks over the paralyzed man, purposely stepping where it's going to hurt. Arrows and magic hit the tower shield, causing him to flinch, but he holds it. The table has caught fire, and I'm the next one out.
They're going to flank me.
Jesse says when I'm behind him. I pull out another arrow and pull the string back. I can't see around Jesse or his shield, but I watch, looking left and right. Someone, a caster, comes into view. They already have another fireball ready. It half hits Jesse's shield and half hits me. I feel cold rather than burning, and my eyes reactively close. I loose the arrow. Jesse backs up, and I trip over the paralyzed man, falling back into the room. As I'm falling, my eyes open. The fear of falling into the fire inside overpowers my brain's demand that my eyes stay closed. I'm relieved that I can still see, but my eyes hurt. Jesse is blocking the door with his shield again.
The first person we need to handle is 6 feet out from the door. He's real close. Then there is another person to our right. She's a little farther, maybe 20 feet. Polly, I need you to get her with your wand when I charge the person in front of me.
Polly's wand starts to glow, but he says, Jesse charges back out, apparently creating a line of sight because Polly releases the 6 little fireballs at a third target. Jesse smashes into his target, then turns toward the attacker Polly was supposed to get, and an arrow thuds against his shield. He turns forward again, blocking another arrow. A small amount of water floods into the building. The fire sizzles, but doesn't go out. Hannah steps out the door behind Jesse and releases a fireball at what was supposed to be Polly's target. Then brings her arms up, releasing an ice spike somewhere. A man's scream slices through the air. Hannah motions Polly forward with a finger. An arrow skitters along the ground between Jesse's legs. Someone tried to get his feet from under the shield. The trajectory must not have been quite right. It wouldn't have done much damage if it had gotten him or Hannah. Steam is starting to fill the air inside the building. The water that had started to fill the city is getting deep faster than seems possible. There must be more than one leak. I make for the door, flanked by Polly and Julian. I choose not to step on the soon-to-be drowning man who is paralyzed on the ground. Jesse does his charge again. I'm too far away to hear the crunch, but I see an assailant plowed over. It looks painful. They land on their side, face in the water that's now flowing down the street. The only enemy remaining is the man with an ice spike through his upper thigh. His weight is on his other leg, and he's holding on to the top of the spike to balance. He's conscious, but it appears the fight is out of him. The water around him is frozen. Jesse switches from shield to long sword. To the left, there is a man with an arrow through his neck. There's still a little blood that is flowing away with the water around him, but no new blood is coming out. His eyes are half closed and his skin has turned pale. He lost a lot of blood before dying. He lost a lot of blood after I shot him. Jesse is looking at the ground. I wonder what's going through his mind. After a moment, he says,
Why don't they have names above their heads?
They're using a disguise kit. It doesn't display their names until they're no longer flagged as criminal, nor will it show them on your radar. Still, none of you will get any player-killer repercussions since they attacked you first.
The man in front of Jesse has recovered from the charge and is sitting now, looking up at Jesse, one hand back on the street to brace himself against the water. His bow floated down the street, out of reach. Jesse spins his sword back and brings it up in a high arch before slicing the man through his neck and deep into his chest. When he pulls his sword out, there is less blood than I would have expected. But there is still a lot.
They're not players, neither are we. We're all people here and they tried to kill us.
I'm sorry.
The impaled one says,
Please don't kill me. I didn't want to travel with them, but they were the first ones I met, and I didn't want to be alone here. I didn't want to hurt any of you. Alex was the one who shot. I missed on purpose. I knew they were bad people, but I thought maybe if I'm with them, I could stop them from doing some bad things, you know? Not everything. I couldn't stop them from attacking you. But maybe I could help at some point.
Jesse looks at me.
If we don't kill him, someone who doesn't deserve to die will die.
You said the same thing about Polly.
Jesse, you might be right, but Hannah definitely is. I don't think we should be the ones who decide if he lives or dies.
Are you kidding me? We kill all the others, but now that we're to the last guy, you're going to take a moral stand? We're not the ones making the decision. He did when he attacked us.
It's different because the fight is over, and he says he didn't want to be a part of it anyway.
What would you have done in my shoes?
I would have stopped them from attacking. I would have killed them first if it came to it.
Bullshit. If we had been in that building and you guys were out here, and your magic lady friend said we needed to be dispatched, you would not have killed her to stop it from happening.
Jesse walks over to the man he last killed and is clearly checking for loot. Then he goes to the one who I killed, and finally the one Elliot paralyzed. He must have drowned because Jesse loots everything, even the clothes.
What's your name?
He asks the impaled man.
George.
George, I realize there's a reason to let you live. Jesse tosses George's quest gem to him. If I see you in the next level of the dungeon and you didn't help the party your gem is linked to, I will kill you. Whether my party members agree or not.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll find them.
Jesse walks the direction the water is flowing, and we follow. I figure it makes sense. We need to get deeper in the dungeon and the water flows downhill. The logic of this may be flawed. It could all be going to a lake, or maybe a sewer system that we don't need to explore. But this works for now. Hey, Elliot, why did your whip paralyze that guy? I had forgot it did that to the rat in the tutorial until I saw that guy drop. I ask.
It's a proc. It doesn't happen every time, but it will start to happen more now that I've gotten some of my levels back.
Also, you know how that ice spike froze the water around George? Why didn't it freeze the blood inside of him?
The freezing point of blood is a little lower than water. But the real answer is because the admins designed it this way.
Makes sense. Oh, and another thing, when we got here, I thought the buildings were boarded up to keep us out, or to protect them from a store or something. But do you think they're boarded up to keep the zombies in?
Shit, I think you're right.
Hold up, everyone.
He's looking at something in his UI that we can't see.
The gem just updated with an actual hint. There's a building on my map that's a few streets over. It has an arrow above it.
I guess they can't make it much clearer than that.
Well, they could put the arrow in the air where we can all see it.
Julian shrugs. By the time we get there, the water is shin deep and is going to be a bigger problem if we don't get out of this city soon. I hope the other group is inside this building. I assume the group we just fought were the people who killed the other dragon and rider. But maybe we're lucky enough that the group we need to find are the ones who did it. At first glance, I want to call this building a church. It's large and grandiose, but there is nothing that suggests it belongs to any religion unless there is a religion for the stone gargoyles placed high on the stone walls. Inside, there is an auditorium with stadium seating, which makes me think it's a concert hall. The place has fantastic craftsmanship. All of the wood is nicely beveled. There are designs of alien plant life carved into the walls. There are 1,000 chairs, and they are all spacious. In the center is a stage that has a floor of thick glass. What's with that? I ask Elliot.
The stage. You'll see similar ones in other towns. They'll use the stage for regular plays, just like you're used to, except they like to put dangerous animals under the floor. Sometimes they'll throw people in there with the animals, and there will be a battle underneath the actual show.
What? To keep people entertained during the slower parts?
I don't know. I always thought it was stupid, but that's alien culture for you. They probably say the same thing about people who use 2 computer monitors back on your world.
Do a lot of them know about that?
Who knows?
Seems we're here alone.
Maybe. But this isn't the whole place, is it? How do they get under the stage?
Right. Good point. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to enjoy much theater during my last run.
We poke around and don't find much of anything that's useful. We blast away at the wood frame around the stage, hoping we could bypass whatever normal entrance they use and just break in then, but there's more glass under the wood, and it seems indestructible.
They have magic here. Is there any reason to think they don't just teleport in?
It's certainly possible. I've never seen one of these before.
If that's the case, we have no lead. Unless one of us has learned to teleport the party and forgot to mention it.
Not necessarily. They could use a machine or like a teleport pad to get in there.
True.
Or the other group isn't here yet. Does the gem say anything different?
Negative. The map still has an arrow pointing at this building.
Well, we better figure something out. This water is getting deeper.
Hannah says, "What's shin high for me is knee high for her." I go back outside and look up, hoping there is something above the building. There isn't, just cave ceiling a long ways away. The roof of the building is too steep for anyone to reasonably be waiting on it, but I walk around the place anyway to make sure. The water is getting closer to my knees. By the time I get around to the front, the others are back outside.
We're going to check the surrounding buildings. Maybe we'll find a teleporter.
It's worrisome. If they do indeed teleport in, they could be coming from anywhere. I figure it's not hopeless, though. The other buildings are a lot plainer and look more warehouse-like. There's no reason to think this is a long-distance operation. The first building is a bust. It was once upon a time a very extensive horse stable. A theater that size needs a parking lot after all. At least there are no zombies. I have a sudden thought of horse zombies charging at us. That's an image I'll keep to myself. The admins don't need any ideas. I've never feared horses. I can even enjoy riding them as long as I don't have to put in all the work of tending them on a daily basis. But come on, they are a little intimidating. They're like huge dogs that let you ride them. The water is getting dangerously deep by the time we get to the second building. We would have all been carried away if we hadn't leveled so many times. Even so, Hannah is having to fight to not float away. Inside, there is crafting tables, stage props in various level of completion, half-finished costumes are floating around, animal cages, empty fish tanks, and most importantly, a black marble square under the water that appears to be the exact same size as the stage. That's gotta be it, right? I say.
One way to find out.
If it's really a teleporter, why isn't it teleporting all of the water away?
Maybe it just doesn't. I watch as the water goes over the top of the fish tanks and 24 skeleton fish rise up into the water and out of the tanks. They look like piranha skeletons, except they have no hole for their eyes.
Oh, that's lovely.
The fish are surprisingly fast, zipping around between all of the floating props and tools. Hannah begins to swim as well, rather than fight the water, and moves a lot faster. The rest of us follow her lead. We put our weapons in inventory and start to swim. The bonefish ignore us at first, but when we get closer to the, hopefully, teleporter, they start to dart at us. I feel them taking bites at my fingers and toes as I swim. It hurts, and blood spills into the water around me, which puts them into a bit of a frenzy. My health bar begins to go down. I check party health bars on my UIE. It's happening to us all. I'm directly above the black marble now, and I swim down. The instant the tip of my finger touches it, I am teleported to under part of the glass stage in the other building. I arrive in the same position I left in, causing me to flop down on my stomach. My knees hurt next as they bang against the floor. It doesn't take long for the others to smack down around me, along with a half-dozen bonefish, which are now flopping around, acting as if they can't breathe out of water, their bones clanking on the wooden floor. They don't even have gills.
Why didn't the water come with us?
Hannah asks. Then before anyone answers.
Or Hank. Hank isn't here.
Because that's the way it is. That's the way the admins designed it. The criteria must be alive and have bones. The fish are undead, they probably qualify. But then there would be another qualifying criteria to make sure our clothes come with us. It doesn't matter how they programmed it, it's how it is. During my run, we had a floor that was entirely underwater, but we were all able to breathe underwater for that floor. This dungeon will often feel like your planet, but you have to stop thinking it is. You have to remember anything is possible here. If you plan to make it to the end.
Okay.
Hank might not be here because he has no bones, or simply because he never touched the teleporter.
Julian tells her. I get up and start looking around.
Well, I'm glad anything is possible because it appears we teleported into a box with no way out. There's always a way out.
Look.
Polly says, pointing above us. There's 2 people swimming above the stage. We all start yelling and waving our hands at them, trying to get their attention. I'm sure they can't hear us, but still one of them notices and points down at us. They swim to the glass to get a better look. They're both women in their 20s. One of them waves at us, and the other materializes the quest gem from their inventory.
It's not glowing. They're not the ones we're looking for.
He pulls our gem out and holds it up for them to see as well, giving them a shrug. They swim back up to the top. I hate to see them go. After what happened today, it seems like we need all the good people that we can get.
Just because they're young and pretty doesn't mean they're good. Didn't your parents ever tell you bad guys don't always look like bad guys?
Plus, a party contains a maximum of 6 players.
We could create a raid, though.
It won't work the way you want it to. Experience won't be split up properly, and the dungeon will randomly disband the raid when nothing big is going on.
I got something here.
He's using his wand as a pry bar to lift a trap door. We gather around and help move the door out of the way. It has stairs leading down a short way to a door.
That door is definitely trapped.
He doesn't ask us to practice on it this time. We watch him walk carefully to the door and examine it.
There's no keyhole, just the handle. The gap around the door isn't big enough to see if there's anything there, and I don't see any sign of a magic trap. Let's blast it open. Cast everything you got on it. Even shoot it with an arrow or 2. I bet I could knock it open with 1 charge. I bet, but I'm not convinced there's no traps. I just can't find any.
We do as Elliot says. Hannah blasts it with a fireball, while Polly hits it with a barrage of his tiny ones. I release an arrow into it, and I don't feel like I'm contributing as much as they are, but who knows? We repeat this until Hannah is almost out of energy, and finally the door is blasted out of its frame. The second it does, the roof above the door crumbles and falls, blocking our way to it, but before it has time to settle, the rubble closest to the doorway starts falling beyond the door. We watch as half of it falls away, leaving us enough room to crawl over it without hitting the ceiling. Well, shit.
I guess the door was the trap. It was supporting the ceiling. And apparently there's a drop-off on the other side. Polly, go check it out.
Jesse tells him.
I don't think that's such a good idea. What if it caves in more?
It's not going to cave in more. What if more falls through the door, though? You're the only one that can fly.
How do you know it's not going to cave in more? Why don't you go look? You can just charge back, can't you?
I'll go look, I tell them.
No, Aurorican. Polly can go look.
Jesse tells me. But I keep going anyway. I don't want to listen to them argue, and I don't think it's going to cave in anymore either. Though I don't think any of us have any way of knowing that. Working my way across the rubble is pretty easy. The rubble is big and doesn't seem to want to roll around on me. I'm careful to stay on top, though. It would be hell if one did shift, trapping my leg or something. When I get to the doorway, there is a drop-off that goes farther than I can see. After a couple 100 feet, it turns to fog. I knock a couple smaller rocks down, and I never hear a thing. It's like the fog swallows them whole. There is a stone pillar 10 feet away from me and 4 feet lower than me. The gap couldn't be jumped even if I had a running start, but I was definitely the right person for this job. I knock an arrow. Will the grapple spell effect and let one fly past the pillar? I don't have to pull the string back hard to get it to where I want it. When the arrow slaps against the far side of the pillar, the rope materializes, and I start to slowly pull it back. It catches on the edge. First try. I hold the rope tight as I can and loop the other end around Rock. I have an urge to ask Polly to take the first trek across, because like Jesse said, he can just fly away if it breaks. But after that conversation, I'll just go ahead and do it. I wrap my feet around the rope and hang on with both hands. The slope down helps, but it's honestly a pain. I'm stronger now, but that doesn't stop the rope from hurting my hands, and it's still terrifying. I know who tied this rope and their level of confidence that it would hold. Plus, what is the weight limit for this rope anyway? How secure is that grapple? I make it to the pillar. There's more of these pillars descending down. I can see a dozen of them before they are lost in the fog. They remind me a bit of the tutorial jump lesson. If they made that lesson impossible to actually jump, I write into the party chat, "Aurorikin, it's safe. There's a gap we need to cross," and I set up a rope.
Hannah, copy that. On my way.
When she comes out the doorway on the rope, I see Polly is waiting behind her, which is a relief. I'm not sure he could swoop someone out of the air, but I'm not sure he couldn't either. He picked up that deer yesterday. Goodness, that seems like a long time ago. I hold onto the grapple from this side. It doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere, and I'm still not sure I could really help if something went wrong, but it makes me feel better. When she gets here, she takes a hold of it so I can set up the next rope. It dawns on me then that I don't have anything to tie the next one to. At the moment of this realization, we are teleported back to my rest area, where there are 30 dwarves waiting to greet us.